get a basic information background to begin with, and then we start building on that. So whether you're a Muslim or a Jew or a Christian or whatever, the book of Daniel should speak to you. I mean, it should mean something to you. And since it doesn't mean anything to most people anymore, rap does, and Steven Spielberg does, and you know, E.T. does, or something like that, or Madonna, or who's the one with that belly all the time that dances and sings, the blonde-haired girl who's pregnant?
Britney Spears. Yeah,
the Britney Spears. Everybody knows who she is, you know, but nobody knows Daniel. Part of our problem of our popular culture. Daniel is an incredibly important book. I don't think without Daniel you could have Islam, actually. You can't say that to a Muslim, because a Muslim, and of course I'm not a Muslim. I can say these things because I'm an academic. Believing Muslim is not going to say this, because for him the Quran is a miracle. In academia, nothing's a miracle. We don't acknowledge miracles in academia. I think I told you that in first class. If I didn't and you weren't here, in academic, Western academic, we're in the West, like it or not. I mean, this is not Al-Azhar, this is not Tehran University, this is Cal State University, operating under the state legislature of California. That puts us in a Western civilization framework. Whether it's good or bad is not, I'm not here to discuss that. But in a Western framework, in a university, Western university framework, they don't consider miracles one way or the other. They leave miracles for churches, synagogues, mosques. There are, to them, as I said, when I was talking about Descartes the other day, what I didn't explain to you, aside from the calculus, is his method of systematic doubt. He started an intellectual system where I said, look, I got to start on some basis of something which is certain. Christians, Jews, Muslims might say, oh, well, what's certain is the Word of God. Well, that may be their certainty, and they can disagree over how much this person's Word of God agrees with that person's Word of God. And whether that agrees with an American Indian's Word of God, or if it agrees with a Buddhist Word of God, or a Hindu's Word of God, you follow me? So the Word of God can differ depending on who's spinning it. So that's a relative thing depending on your culture. And if you're the dominant culture, then you can enforce that upon everyone and say that is the Word of God, and everything you believe is heresy. And therefore in Christianity in the Middle Ages up to contemporary, maybe 16th century, you could burn people. There were burning people in Mexico in places even. Weren't even born Christian. Some of those poor Indian leaders in Peru and Aztec world were burned, literally burned. They gave the king, you know, we'll give you the choice. You can be strangled or you can be burned. If you're just strangled, then maybe you'll be able to, if you take Christ beforehand, maybe you'll then be able to be resurrected. But if you don't take Christ beforehand and we just burn you, you're not going to be able to be resurrected and stuff like that. You know, this is what they did when they went to South America. So they were still burning people. So heretics are burnable, and in the Islamic world, there are people who feel that non-believers can be eliminated. And I know no Muslim is going to deny that there are people who think that. Maybe some Muslims don't think that, but there are some Muslims who do think that, and that's why in the TV you get pictures of people sawing people's heads off with knives, because in fact some people feel that they are permitted to do that to people who have transgressed in some manner. Not everyone thinks that. So, you know, when people are in a dominant position, they can enforce a belief structure. But what Descartes was saying is, I want to look for the first principle scientifically, not according to what this belief or that belief says it is. He said, I want to start with something, I want to doubt everything. I want to find something that I can't doubt, and that will be my first principle. So what did he come up with? Something he can't doubt, that he was sure of, that he was sure that was provable. See, none of you know. We live in a Western universe, and the whole West is dying, sadly. Yes?
I think therefore, yeah.
Yeah, I think therefore. Were you going to say that too? Yeah. It's in Latin, it's the cogito ergo sum. And I don't know Latin that well, but it's something to do, I think, therefore I am. In other words, Descartes said, look, I can't deny the fact that I'm sitting here thinking at the moment. I know I'm thinking at the moment. And that implies that when you say I, that something exists. Not necessarily God, but me. So we started with the thing, I mean, frankly, I didn't have to say I think, therefore, that's the most elegant way of putting it, because that's what Aristotle had God as in his metaphysics, if you know anything about Aristotle. He thought the first principle was thought, contemplating thought. How many are familiar with Aristotle's metaphysics? Yeah, you see, you know Madonna, and you know Britney Spears, and you know Bin Laden, but you don't know Aristotle. It shows the level of our culture. We have really collapsed. But unfortunately, there you are. So my God is the university, okay? So it's not a God, but I'll be the temple of the Western Academic University, if you'll allow me. And so we'll study all things equally in that temple, for good or for bad. So part of that temple is people like Aristotle, and people like Aristotle developed the subjects. Do you know that? All the subjects we study today in the university are what Aristotle categorized. Aristotle liked to catalog things. He's the one who wrote the biology, the physics, the psychology, the aesthetics, and so on and so forth. These are the subjects that he laid down as the different subjects of human inquiry, and that's what the university is built on. And these have become departments. You know, these are now departments. They all still use the same terms Aristotle used. So in case you've never heard that, that's why you can speak for Aristotle. He's not a great philosopher in the sense that he did everything from the armchair and never tested anything. He wasn't a good experimenter, but he knew how to catalog things. Like the reason he got into biology, he lived in some seaport place where he was exiled. He used to go down to the marketplace and look at all the funny creatures that came up out of the sea. You know, octopus and all the crabs and every other kind of fish and so on. And he began to see that there was purpose for all those characteristics that they had, and he started cataloging all those things as part of his biology, trying to get a theory about the universe. Okay, well, Descartes later on, said, I want a first principle, that everything that I can't doubt, and from there build it. So he said, I can't doubt that I'm thinking now. And you may think you can. Oh, you could say, I speak, therefore I exist. Professor Eisenman is speaking, therefore he exists. Well, maybe I don't exist, but in fact, that's about as certain as we can get.